everybody, this is 101 The Believer, and this is a video response to They Killed Themselves by Onision Speaks. It is a collective video response, as I will be responding to all the video responses that are underneath Onision Speaks YouTube video. And the first video up is the original Onision Speaks video entitled They Killed Themselves. So in this video, Onision is asking his viewers who is responsible when a person decides to commit suicide. People try to blame their suicide attempts or even successes on other people. However, in my view, the only people they have to blame are themselves. So really, the person ultimately responsible for the suicide is the person who committed it themselves. They had other choices they could have made, however they chose the easiest way out possible, and that was just to end their life. So in the end, who is really to blame? It's nobody but the person who committed the suicide themselves. However, there is more than one way about thinking about this topic. Let's take a look at some of the video responses that Onision has received and see what other people think about this very touchy topic. The very first video I stumbled upon was that of Mia Depp Rock Rion 2's video entitled Video Response to They Killed Themselves. I found this video to be very different and the argument contained within it very hard to follow along with. She starts off by saying that sane, happy people cannot make themselves sad. And then she continues with, only people make you sad, or something to that extent, which I don't actually believe this to be true. The only person that can make yourself sad is you. For example, if someone is picking on you, calling you names, and making you feel horrible, then the only person you truly have to blame is yourself, because you're allowing what they say and what they are doing to you to affect your feelings and make you ultimately feel sad. Secondly, I didn't understand the example that she gave regarding going to school and asking someone to hate on you, because that's the kind of life you want to live. There was no reasoning behind this example, and it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Therefore, with that, more clarification for this example would be needed to make a reasonable response to this part of the argument. The next example given is just as strange as well. Why would somebody ask their family member to die so they could go out and die as well? If a family member passed away, why would somebody want to go and kill themselves? Possibly to join them? Using that person's death as an excuse still puts the blame on the person that ultimately wishes to commit suicide. There, now I can actually see. In the end, both of these examples given need to be further clarified so we can actually make sense of them to formulate a proper conclusion for this part of the argument. So now, we continue on with making your own life a living hell. She states that she's never met anyone who has personally tried to make their life a living hell. However, we do this on a daily basis. When someone makes us hurt and makes us feel sad and depressed, we are putting that hurt onto ourselves. We are making ourselves feel like we are living in hell. She states that something would have to happen to make you feel sad or make you feel like you're living in hell. The truth is, something might have happened, but it's how you react to that situation. Will you decide to think in a positive light, or will you think about yourself in a negative way that will make you feel sad and depressed? Having the ability to choose between thinking positively or thinking negatively about yourself ultimately puts the responsibility of how you're handling the situation onto yourself. The only person responsible for your choices is you. You decide which road you're going to take. You decide how you're going to feel about yourself, not anybody else. It doesn't matter what anybody else says or what anybody else does. It's the choices you make, and you are responsible for those choices. Nobody else but you. She then goes on to claim that Onision stated that it is their fault for committing their own suicide. If you take a look back at the Onision's video, he doesn't directly claim that he believes it is their fault. He may lean towards that side of the argument, but he doesn't directly say that, so what you say in this part is false. Next, she disagrees with the fact that the person who is trying to commit suicide is not to blame. I believe that the person that tries to commit suicide and either fails or is successful in their venture is to blame. For someone that is trying to commit suicide, there are other choices that are able to be made. However, they choose suicide. This is their responsibility. This was their choice to do so. Therefore, they only have themselves to blame. We can't put the blame on other people. Next, she states, why commit suicide if your life is perfect and your life is happy? I do not believe necessarily that happy people commit suicide. They may be happy and outgoing on the outside, but you cannot truly tell what's going on the inside of somebody. You can't tell what they're thinking, and most importantly, you can't tell how they truly feel on the inside. Therefore, happy people do not commit suicide. sad, depressed people commit suicide. So therefore, in the end, Mia Dep Rock Rion 2, I don't know how you can't believe what Onision says. People who decide to commit suicide have made that choice. It is their choice to make that decision. No one has asked them to make that decision. They have come to that conclusion on their own. It was their choice to jump in that river and drown, pull that trigger on that gun that was pointed at their head. It was no one else's choice, no one else's decision. It was theirs, and they have to live with the responsibility of that choice. So everyone, we go from this video to another video created by a young lady about this sensitive topic. The third video I looked at was created by Anaxasia. I really hope I said that right. Her video is entitled Video Response to They Killed Themselves. This video starts off by her stating that people who commit suicide are not directly at fault. If they are not directly at fault, who is? Then she states that people that try to commit suicide and blame it on somebody else are directly at fault. She states that there is a huge difference between these two. However, I don't see one. In both circumstances, a person is still making a conscious choice whether to kill themselves or whether not to. Therefore, how can these two instances be different? The person who actually committed suicide is still at fault. They chose suicide when there were other options. The person who did not commit suicide is still at fault. Theoretically, they are at fault because they chose not to kill themselves. It wasn't anybody else's responsibility. It wasn't anybody else's choice. They chose not to kill themselves. So they are at fault for the choices they made. So with that, I agree with her when she states that a person who fails to commit suicide is to blame. She continues on in her video by stating that people who actually commit suicide, the actions are to blame for the suicide. The example was that if a woman gets raped, is it her fault for committing suicide? I believe that it is, going back to what I've said over and over and over again. She made the conscious decision to go out and kill herself. Therefore, her suicide is her fault because it was her choice and her responsibility. She made the choice to go kill herself, therefore it is her fault, not the action of getting raped. That's how she chose to deal with the situation. So the action of getting raped is not to blame. It's her choice and her decision of how to handle the situation that is to blame. Therefore, with that, it is her fault. Then she goes on to state, is it her fault that she wants to kill herself? The only thing I can possibly come up with to say is yes. She is making that conscious choice to go kill herself. So therefore, it is her fault that she wants to go kill herself. She is handling the situation of being raped the wrong way, when there are other ways of going about it. She could get help. She could talk to others. There's many possible things she can do. Suicide is definitely not the answer. As to her question, is it the girl's fault that she got raped? Absolutely not. But it is her fault on how she handles the situation of being raped. So, in the end, Anaxasia, I don't know how you cannot believe that it is a person's fault for committing their own suicide, and how the responsibility would somehow lie on someone else's shoulders. This now concludes part 1 of a part 2 set of analyzing the video responses to They Killed Themselves by Onision Speaks. Thank you everybody for watching, and enjoy part 2. Please everybody, thumbs up the video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment. Haters and fans are more than welcome. P.S. I will only respond to video responses, so if you have an issue with me, get courageous and make a video.